Very good. So good to see everyone. So first of all, quick intro to us. My job title is Chief Technologist. Normally called CTO, but the CEO wanted to make the point that he wanted a technologist to lead the technology team, not a kind of politician, which I think some companies have leading their technology organizations. I'm really not very good at actually that type of stuff. I'm much better at technology. So I would say I identify as a geek. So actually on our Slack system, my job title is listed as Chief Geek. And then with me this afternoon, this evening, morning, wherever you happen to be, I've got Andy Garcia and Chris Atkinson, who are delivery coaches, part of my team. So delivery coach is, you've probably heard the term agile coach before, so it's kind of a bit like that, but it's wider than just agile because they are coaching the team on more than just agile. So that's us. If we move to the next slide, Chris. It's a little bit about Atom Bank. So we were actually the UK's first app-based bank. So we were founded in 2014. I think we became a bank in 2016. So we got a banking license and actually became a bank. So we were founded in the northeast of England. So we are in Durham, which is kind of near Newcastle. Those of you that know the UK, there's about 560-ish people at Atom at the moment. We're hiring actively. If anyone fancies joining us, please look on our website. And then, the kind of the why. So Mark, our CEO, and his fellow founders basically thought banking was a bit rubbish, really. So our kind of strap line is we want to make banking or change banking for the good, for the better for everyone. So we want to make borrowing and saving just simpler, faster, and better value than anyone else. We don't think people want a big relationship with their bank. We think people have got probably better things to do. And so we think you should be able to just do everything via our mobile app and kind of self-serve and just get the job done and go and do something a bit more interesting. We do have an absolutely amazing award-winning customer support team, so you can call us if you need to, but we kind of think that we've probably got something a bit wrong actually in the app if you need to call us. But you can call us if you need to. And then in terms of products, we do several different types of savings accounts. We do residential mortgages and loans to businesses, primarily sort of think of it as like commercial mortgages. We've got kind of 200,000 plus customers at the moment. That's growing all the time as more people decide they want to bank with us. So, and they're obviously very welcome. So, a bit more about them and the value we create. So, I'm going to build that slide out a little bit, Chris. So, first of all, for our customers, we are just really passionate about providing great value for our customers. So we automate absolutely everything that we can, and that keeps our costs pretty low. And then that means we can pass through those savings in the form of better savings rates for our savers and mortgage rates for our borrowers. So in last year, the last financial year that our financial year finishes in April, bizarrely. So that last year, this was when rates were going up in the UK. I think it's probably quite familiar to lots of people that lots of other banks were very quick to put their mortgages up, but not quite as quick to put their savings rates up. So we have what's called a deposit beta, which is basically the Bank of England rate and how much we reflect that of 88%. That's hugely more than most of the kind of big names that you would have heard about. So we try as hard as we can to pass those Bank of England rates through to our savers in particular. Just on mortgages, we are really super quick at giving people decisions on mortgages. It's really slow on average in the UK, well over 11, 12 days on average. We average 4 days, but if you hit all of our automation, I think our record is something like 7 seconds for a full mortgage decision. And our customers love us. We're the highest rated bank in Trustpilot. We've got 5 stars there. We've got 5 stars on both of the app stores. We don't do that by flogging our colleagues. We're also the UK's only bank and the biggest UK company to work a 4-day week. So we moved to that a couple of years ago, actually. So moved from 5 days to 4 days, a slightly longer day each day, but I think in the end it was about 10% less time, fewer hours for the same pay. Everyone genuinely does work 4 days. Really, it's the absolute exception to work on that extra day off. So that's absolutely brilliant for our teams. And then we offer all the kind of normal flexible benefits, including £200 for people to go and just do something kind of interesting. So, outside of work. So people do courses in plastering and cooking and all sorts of weird stuff that they then share what they've got up to. So that's really good fun. For our investors, so last financial year, we made £27 million profit, and that's up from the previous year, £4 million. And as I said, we really try very, very hard to keep those costs flat. So, we've got lots and lots more customers, and we've hired more people, but our costs only went up really marginally. And again, we really try hard to recycle that back for our savers and borrowers, and obviously, try and provide a decent return for our investors as well. We also don't want to wreck the climate while we do that. So we want to become carbon positive by 2035. And recently, we've just bought 25 acres of woodland in Northumberland. So that should offset all the carbon that we've ever emitted ourselves since we were founded. And we'll continue to do things like that to actually offset the carbon from the homes that we borrow, that we lend to people as well. And then other things like we have an EV scheme for all our employees. And we were also founded particularly in as I said, in the northeast of the UK. It is a relatively deprived area of the UK. And so we were intentionally founded there. We do try and do a lot of kind of social good locally. So, for example, we provide sponsorship and grants for people from low income backgrounds. So yeah, really try and do some social good as well. And then so I will hand over, I think, to was it Andy or Chris?
Yeah, I'll take it from here. Cheers, Andy. So on the previous slide that Andy's just kind of gone through, there's a lot of value that we have delivered to our various groups of customers, and as you can imagine, that doesn't happen overnight. So what I'm going to talk to a little bit now is our journey of how we came to be where we are today. So I guess Atom's unique context. So it all started, as Andy mentioned earlier, in 2016. So Atom went live and we started serving our first customers in 2016. So we launched our savings, mortgages and business lending propositions in this year. And when we built the bank, we initially built it using a third-party application. And the rationale for that was it was actually a requirement in terms of to gain a banking license. So fast forward to 2018, we began building new elements of the bank in the cloud. So our provider is Google, so Google Cloud Platform. And then moving to 2019, from a ways of working perspective, we started to hire Scrum Masters. And the teams that those Scrum Masters worked within adopted agile frameworks. We've deliberately used a capital A here, as the focus from an agile perspective was largely on process and work management, without kind of all the other stuff that really helps move the needle. And then moving forward to 2020, so in Q1, we released our first cloud native savings product, so the instant access saver account. And then in Q3, we built and migrated the rest of our stack into the cloud. And once we'd finished that in Q4, we kind of had a rethink about how we structured our teams, and we organized our teams around work types. So for us at the time, it was build, run, and improve. And then moving to 2021, we adopted and embedded more of a data-driven approach. So we, across all of our delivery teams, we started to capture DORA metrics and another number of other metrics outside of that as well. And then moving to 2022, so in Q2, Andy joined us as our Chief Technologist, and this for us was a real sliding doors moment, as we really then saw more of a shift towards optimizing, towards outcomes. So if we move on to the next slide, this slide's going to focus on kind of that path, that journey to get us where we are today. And a lot of the things that are going to be on this slide are the big changes that we made in terms of our ways of working. So let's go back to 2022. And when Andy joined, there were a number of people within Atom who were familiar with Sooner, Safer, Happier. And a number of people were trying to apply patterns to their teams and to their context. And when Andy joined, he galvanized that group, he brought them together and created momentum and a bit of a mini movement within Atom in terms of focusing more on better value, sooner, safer, happier, and ultimately outcomes. In Q3, we began quarterly planning at a portfolio level. So prior to this, it was annual. So the benefits of doing this were twofold. We shortened the feedback loop, and as a consequence of this, we actually reduced work in progress. And then moving forward to 2023, there was a lot of momentum from this moment on, and we made a lot of changes. So in Q1, we organized our people around value streams, and as a result, our teams became multidisciplinary. And then in Q2, with a focus on people, we created a product management capability. And what we've seen as a result of this, we're seeing more ruthless prioritization based on customer value. We're seeing more incremental delivery through kind of vertical slicing of value. And then in the same quarter, we revamped our delivery roles. So we phased out the Scrum Master role, and we introduced a delivery manager, delivery lead, and delivery coach roles. Andy alluded to it earlier. We deliberately omitted the term agile from our job titles, as we want our delivery folk to be framework and thinking agnostic, and we want people to apply the relevant tools that are conducive to the context that they're working in. And then also in Q2, we launched an infrastructure as code initiative. So looking to build out and make use of ephemeral environments, kind of abstract configuration away from the engineers, so they can focus on innovating and delivering more value for our customers. And then in Q3, we saw the creation of a safety team, which we will talk to later. And then we also saw the adoption of Slack as our primary communication tool. And this really was a game changer for us. And then just as the year was kind of fading out in Q4, we launched a number of communities of practice, which takes us to 2024. So in Q1, within the organization, we started adopting OKRs. And what we're really seeing now is a clear thread from, organizational scorecard to value streams, to teams, to individuals. We are seeing alignment in terms of what people are working on and what they're ultimately contributing to. So the same goals. In our kind of mission to strive for technical excellence, we hired a number of principal engineers in Q1 as well, and they're embedded in our value streams now and really kind of driving us forward and helping us improve from a technical perspective. In Q2, we replaced our legacy middleware platform. So we look to break our dependencies, not manage them. So our middleware platform wasn't particularly fit for purpose anymore. We had a couple of key person dependencies, and we really did rely on a couple of engineers. So we replaced this technology, we optimized it, we modernized it, and we built in more resilience within our workforce as a consequence. And then in Q3, we have optimized our information radiators with real-time data. So we have integrated custom charts and actionable agile within Jira, which we're really benefiting from. And then for Q4, well, we're here today. We're sharing our ways of working journey externally. We want to share what's worked for us. We want to share what hasn't worked for us. And we really want to learn from other people's experience as well. So lots of change to our ways of working. And, Andy's previously demonstrated the value, the outcomes that we've delivered to our various customers. But it begs the question, have we delivered better? Have we delivered sooner, safer, and happier? Well, we have. So from a better perspective, I'm not going to talk to all of these, but since January 2023, our change failure rate has improved from 6% to 2%. And then just in this financial year alone, so I think we're talking, 7 months, we have seen 306 days saved through toil reduction. So when I say toil, we're talking about manual, repeatable, non-value add tasks. And then from a sooner perspective, so we're particularly proud of this one. So since January 2023, our deployment frequency has improved by 62%. Our cycle time has reduced by 63%, and our lead time for change, so code commit through to deployment to production, has reduced by 57%. From a safer perspective, so since April 2024 of this year, we have seen that more than 94% of our production deployments are now in line with our safety framework, so adhering to our safety guardrails. And then for this financial year, we have seen 10% more production deployments that are frictionless compared to the previous financial year. And last but not least, happier. So since March 2023, our employee engagement has increased by 17%. So from a customer perspective, I think Andy talked to this. We have 5-star App Store ratings on Google Play and App Store, so iOS and Android. I think as of earlier, we're still rated as the #1 UK bank on Trustpilot. And finishing on an environmental theme. So for the last financial year, we saw a reduction in operational carbon emissions per employee by 12% versus the previous financial year. And as Andy mentioned earlier, we're doing more work to put the past right as well in terms of planting that woodland in Northumberland. So we could move to the next slide, please. Lots of value, lots of outcomes, lots of changes to ways of working, and ultimately a lot of learnings. And we've kind of condensed those learnings into 3 themes, and those are make work and everything visible. They are create a data feedback loop and cultivate a learning ecosystem. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to hand over to Chris, and he is going to contextualize some of these key learnings and talk a little bit about Atom's ninja moves. So Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Andy. So yeah, John likes to use the word ninja moves, right? So we thought we'd steal that one and bring to life how we're acting on these 3 principles. So the idea is to kind of whiz through these. I think there's 6 to 8. and see what kind of questions that generates for you guys in the chat. So let's get straight into it. Ninja Move 1, switch from closed to open collaboration tools. So Andy mentioned that we moved to Slack as part of that timeline. The previous tools we were using were very closed. You could create a channel. If you didn't invite someone into that channel, they couldn't see it. They couldn't search for what was going on in there. And that became particularly painful post-COVID when everyone started working a lot more from home. Again, Andy mentioned we're hybrid and lots of our colleagues work from home as well as in the office. So it became really obvious we needed to invert that and make things a lot more open. So all of our Slack channels are open by default. That took some getting used to. And I think the first 6 months of Slack, Andy was ruthlessly making private channels public to encourage that openness. And we were doing that really intentionally, right? We want to recreate the interactions, the connections, the communication and collaboration that happens in the physical office, overhearing that conversation, spotting something, going and having a spy to see what another team was up to. We wanted to replicate all those behaviors and the good things that come from those in a remote world. So when we've kind of put together Slack, we've looked at designing that kind of communication around different things, around shared interests. So we've got channels by value stream. So like Ask Savings, if you want to go and chat to our savings guys about anything. By team, Andy mentioned we've got a safety team, for example, so they'll have their own channel as well. And then by general interest, so Andrew mentioned we'd launched a number of communities of practice. Each one of those has their own community channel in Slack again. So DevX we've put on there as an example. Those guys are in there chatting away. You can go and ask them a question or maybe watch a video from one of their latest meetings, etc. And then we've also got the social element as well, right? So we've also got a bunch of kind of fun channels. My favorite being Fun Work Soundtrack, where we've got lots of people sharing good music that they're coming across and using throughout the workday. So that is Ninja Move 1. Next up on that theme is share the small stuff, share the small victories. It's really important to create that kind of social proof when you're changing ways of working. And a great way to do that is to create a space for people to share all of their kind of wins, big and small, but mostly the small ones, because they're the ones that kind of go unnoticed otherwise. So just in this financial year, so since April, we've had 180 posts to our small victories channel again in Slack that we use for that, and lots of great reactions and comments and applause for the folks doing that good work. Next Ninja Move then would be to study and optimize the flow of value. So Andrew and I have ran what we call lean pizza workshops to help teams create value stream maps to understand their flow and remove inefficiencies from that. So why lean pizza? If you're wondering, it's a very good question. Essentially, we take everyone outside of work, not physically, by using a pizzeria as an example, right, of a flow. So from ordering a pizza to collecting that pizza or getting that pizza delivered, we do a bit of an exercise with a made-up pizza company that we've got, and we kind of introduce the teams to concepts around active time, wait time, flow efficiency, and so on. And they map out the pizzeria, they make changes to the process and improve it, and then we take them back to work, right, context, and we then do that for their value stream now that they've understood the basic principles. Highlights from that have included one of our business lending teams improving their cycle time by 71%. If the MK in the chat is the MK, I think it is, shout out to you for being a massive part of that. One of our mortgage teams removed 75 hours of wait time per month from just one small change they identified as a result of that. And a bit further down the line, we've now implemented a tool and that automatically starts to capture that flow efficiency and that flow distribution, those tools being custom charts and actionable agile in Jira that Andrew mentioned. Next Ninja Move then would be to create a centralized information radiators. So we've got an online hub in Confluence. You can get in there and see what we do and how we do it and how well we're doing it. So in there, you can find our strategy, our value stream structures. You can see our OKR dashboard, which has for each OKR, how we're performing against that in real time. And then all of our real-time delivery telemetry as well for teams is in there. So we think it's really important. Everyone's got access to that. so everyone can see how we're doing, how we're working, why we're working in that way. Next, ninja move, transparent and open communication. So we create frequent interactions that drive engagement. Examples of this being, we run a happiness survey every other month. The results of that survey are democratized, so they go into a Slack channel. You can see the scores, the results of how everyone's feeling, but crucially as well, people answer 2 questions when they do that survey. One is around, why they feel, how they feel, and the other is how do they feel things could change for the better. So everyone then gets sight of what those comments and suggestions are. That really encourages everyone to get involved in improving that as well. It is anonymous by default, the survey. We do have an option to include your name. We use that percentage of people who choose to use their name as a bit of a psychological safety measure, if you like. But none of those names are attached to any of the comments. If you went in to have a look, it would be all removed and you just see the comments in isolation. We've been doing some work with Gemini recently, right, to theme those comments up and help see what's going on across the wider view. Other things we're doing around that communication element then, we've got monthly town halls, which we have regular segments for kind of spotlight on, where maybe a value stream or a delivery team will take the lead on what they're up to this month. And we've got an Ask Me Anything segment at the end where people can ask our leadership team or any of their colleagues any questions in public and get the answers answered in public as well. We have a leadership team who are comfortable kind of admitting they're not an expert or that they don't know things and that they've been on a learning journey as well, which we think is really important. Something we've implemented is the concept of monthly operations reviews. So if you've read Make Work Visible, you might recognize this from there. Essentially, this is an opportunity for our delivery managers and some of the senior stakeholders getting together, looking at that delivery telemetry, happiness scores and so on, and basically just sharing, good practice, lessons learned, asking each other questions about their data, and again, really encouraging that transparent and open communication and creating that feedback loop. And finally, we do regular show and tells that are open to everyone. We've got, again, a Slack channel, community showcases, where we encourage people to share their recordings of all their videos. It might be a community of practice meeting, it might be a technical demo, it might be a monthly review for a value stream, so that everyone can kind of watch those as they like, get extra context, understand what's going on across the wider organization. Next ninja move then would be to empower your teams. So our teams have agency to continuously improve. Something that's been really fundamental to that this year is having an OKR specifically talking about reducing toil. So Andrew mentioned that toil, right, being that repetitive manual task that gets in the way of delivering the real value we want. So we've got an OKR in there to reduce that toil. That encourages teams to do things like True North Tuesdays. So a couple of our teams go away once a month on a Tuesday and dedicate the whole day to not do any daily work, just focus on how we improve the daily work, if that makes sense. We've got quarterly face-to-face meetups that we encourage with teams as well. So a lot of us are remote a lot of the time, but we do like getting together face-to-face and making the most of that face-to-face interaction. And again, we encourage everyone to use that time to really focus on how we improve daily working, right, rather than cracking on with the daily work. And recently, we've also been running hackathons with some partners like Google to really encourage teams to innovate and try new things and solve new problems together as well. And they normally run over a couple of days. Next ninja move then would be focus on technical excellence. So we view our technology as a value creator, not a cost. We've mentioned a few of these on the timeline again. So really harnessing infrastructure of code, CI/CD automation, so we can go fast and stay safe while reducing toil for engineers so they can innovate. We like to solve problems before our customers know they're a problem. So we've got a tool called Datadog. We've got some monitoring, alerting, and production. Some of our teams then in Slack will have a Datadog bot that kind of posts to their team channel to say, this service in production might be having issues, go take a look, and again, get that real-time view. So that enables teams to really run what they build, right, which is, again, really important for us. And then we're always kind of playing around with new toys. So we've just recently finished a Gemini trial, given a bunch of us access to Gemini to use and collaborate with at work. And Andy, being Chief Geek, one of the reasons he gets that moniker is he spent his weekends writing us a Chatten GPT, which is our own version of ChatGTP that lives in Slack. You can start a conversation with it in Slack individually and use it as you'd expect from a ChatGTP. Or you can ask it to summarize, the last 30 days of a Slack channel, and it'll give you that summary. We're training it hopefully to start querying things like policy. So, how do I book a holiday, or check a certain policy document? And we've even built in a bit of fun with that as well. So I believe you can give it the command Luminos, which will then give you a sassy version of whatever answer or query you've asked it to do, which people also like to use to inject a bit of fun into their day. And finally, we've got build better breaks with the safety team. So quite fundamental in this ways of working journey for us is to not view safety as an afterthought and really focus on safety from the off. So we've streamlined safety by creating minimum viable guardrails. We have a safety team who have worked very hard on those guardrails, and they act as in a facilitator mode, right? If you know your team topologies, to embed that safety framework across our teams. They are baking security in and safety in by addressing risk and control early or in code, preferably always in code. And to quote James Pettikin, who's one of our leads in that team, he talks about how, we used to think about safety as a safety net, and change control as a safety net. He wants to move that safety net to more of a save, right? So small, frequent things coming through there, filtered through a well-robust process, as much in code as possible, rather than catching things in the big safety net at the end. So those are our ninja moves that we thought were most powerful to kind of share, that hopefully people can pick up and run with if they like. But we thought it was worth mentioning some of the learning that's influenced it, right? So none of this is massively new. We're not reinventing the wheel. We've basically spent time to learn and look into different ways of working, apply those, jump on what works, try again with what doesn't. And three kind of really key texts for us from the IT Rev library have been making work visible, team topologies, and the Phoenix project in shaping that thinking. And there's one book missing here, right, which should be pretty obvious given who's hosting the event today. Of course, Sooner, Safer, Happier has been a massive one for that thinking shift for us as well, and really has started a bit of a movement for us at Atom. We thought we'd bring that to life a little bit with a slide. So every year in December, we do a special town hall, and we try and make it a bit fun and reflect on the year we've had. So we'll include a bunch of numbers in there, about mean time to restore service and incidents and value we've delivered for customers and so on. But we like to sneak in a few maybe funnier ones as well. Maybe pick on some individuals in good spirit on, certain people who turn up to work in their dressing gown quite a lot and so on. So one of our slides then last year was this. Hopefully we get the movie reference, but 876 times people have quoted Sooner, Safer, Happier, which does happen a lot at work. It happens in two ways, right? When we're trying to convince people to change, but also when we're challenging each other as well, right? It's a great way of bringing like really good debate and conversation around. It's just great to see everyone getting stuck in and learning more about it, and then kind of weaponizing that, if you like. So big shout out to John and Sooner, Safer, Happier. And I believe that gives us plenty of time now for questions.